Hey there, it's Diane Forster, and welcome to I Have Today, where we talk about the art of intentional living. And each week on this show, we're all about inspiring, empowering, and educating you through life's transitions. And today is going to be such a fun episode because I have a guest who's coming back. Joleen DesRosiers is coming back, and she's not alone this time. She's in a new relationship. And let me tell you something about her. I met her a year ago on TikTok. I fell in love with her and wanted to have her on my show last year because she was going through a big transition in her life. She wanted to change her life. She knew she didn't want to stay in the status quo anymore, and she wanted more, and she wanted to do things. And I remember her running through the list and how amazing it was. And so many things that she said that day have come to fruition in her life. And so I wanted to bring her back because one of the things that she manifested, or let me say they manifested together, is a relationship. So Joleen's here, but also her partner in life, her current partner in life is Ken Case, and he's coming on the show as well. So we're going to talk about them, how they met. They met on TikTok. So we titled this show Intentional and Inspirational Love Story Found on TikTok. And the reason why all this happened to and for Joleen was because of her clear intentions and her bravery to put herself out there and go after a life that she loved and the life of her dreams. And she is going to inspire you to get off your duff, stop staying stuck in your story, and go out and go after what it is you want. And when I bring them up here, I'm going to share a story with you because today is a very special anniversary for me. So the synchronicity and the timing of this whole thing is so magical. 9 years ago today was my last day in corporate America. I worked at ABC for 20 years and I walked away with, well, kind of a plan, but I just had to reinvent my life. And so my twins' last day of high school in 2015 was my last day in corporate America. And that was the year that I sold my house. I sold everything in it. I got my kids off to college. I moved from Chicago to San Diego with my spifters, my kitchen product, and a dream. And my mantra was, I just want to see where this goes. And here I am 9 years later, just launched a television network, have had a TV show for the last 7 years. I just launched a podcast last week, and I can't believe how many lives I've impacted, and I feel like I'm just getting started. Now, if I wasn't brave enough to do that back then, I wouldn't be sitting here today. So we're going to talk about that and what actually happens, at different stages, because I feel like it's going to be a great place for Joleen to tell her story, but also for me to kind of fill you in. Well, I'm about 9 years ahead of you. And these are kind of the things that happened to me. So wherever you are, whatever age you are, it is never too late to start over because you have today. That is all you have. And today is the perfect day to change and create the life that you want. So we're going to bring them up in just a moment. I'm so excited for this conversation. They have all this new stuff going on too. So let's start with our intention statement. Our intention statement this week is I have today to be open, brave, honest, and vulnerable. I have today to be open, brave, honest, and vulnerable, because that is exactly what Joleen has exhibited. So what we do with our intention statement is my awesome team makes a beautiful graphic. There it is. It's on the screen right now. And you can get it at Instagram. If you hop on over there at Diane Forster Official, on my profile, there's a little button that says intention statements. It's already up there. Just go and grab it, take a screenshot of it, and use it as your screensaver for this whole week. So that every time you look at your phone, you can be reminded of that. Yes, I do. I have today to be open, brave, honest, and vulnerable. Because when you are all of those things, you open up so much of the gifts and the abundance that the universe has waiting for you. So you can catch that over there. All right. Well, I don't want to waste any more time. So we're getting ready to bring Joleen and Ken in the studio with me right now. But let's first hear a word from our sponsor, the Spifter. This week's episode of I Have Today is brought to you by the Spifter. The Spifter is a fun sifting spoon that makes cooking, baking, and decorating with sugars and spices so much fun. No more mess or wasting your spices. It's fast, clean, and easy. Everything looks and tastes delicious. It's also great for straining loose tea, getting pesky broken cork out of your wine glass, and draining liquid off food like olives and capers. Whether you're a novice cook or a gourmet chef, you'll love the results. The Spifter, the kitchen gadget that no kitchen should be without. Well, happy today, Joleen and Ken. So good to see you.
Oh, hello.
Yeah. So, Joleen, it has been about, I think it's the 1 year anniversary this month since you and I were on the show last year. Remember that? Hey, team, show them the graphic of the show last year.
Yeah. Oh
my God. So good. Well, let me tell you, in this past year, I mean, I've been following you on TikTok. I love your videos. I love the two of you together. I have watched this journey unfold, literally, as did all of your bajillion followers watching this too. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be interesting to have you back a year later after you declared, I don't want to do this anymore. I want a different life. Yes. Mm-hmm. So first, tell everybody a little bit about you, Joleen, what you're currently up to, and then I want Ken to share a little bit about him too. Yes.
Yeah. Everyone has to know Ken.
Yes.
I quit my job.
Yeah.
And am working on building a life that feels good to me each and every day. Some days are scary, but I have support from this beautiful human right here. And I also have a faith that I didn't have before or as deep as I do now, trusting that more and more will come. But I'm a former journalist, TV producer. My daughter is 21. She'll be 21 this summer. Just transitioning, continuing the transition. And yes. this guy's part of it.
Yes. So good. All right, Ken. So tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I have been at the same place of employment for 39 years in July. Been a paramedic, so started out as a paramedic, and I've been fortunate enough to work my way up into the management roles because your back can only take so much. There's no way I could have been a paramedic for 39 years. But yeah, been doing that and love to fly, a pilot and a musician. And I, like you, have twins. Got you twin daughters. They're in their 30s now, so time to go out and enjoy life.
Yeah, that is so beautiful, so beautiful. Well, as we're getting into your story, I want to tell a little brief story about me because I've watched your videos, Joleen, and I know I just saw one that when you left your job, it wasn't like they asked you to stay. It wasn't anything like that. And I thought that was really powerful because as I started this show 9 years ago today, I walked out of my corporate job and I was with ABC for 20 years. I made that company over $100 million in sales. And when I left, I've never told this story to anybody, never publicly. But when I left, it was the week I was leaving. I left on a Friday, and on Monday or Tuesday, I sent an email, a company-wide email that just said, thank you and goodbye. And I just said, I just want to thank you. If I knew you or if I didn't know you, if we crossed paths or if we worked together for many years, just thank you so much for everything. I'm off on an adventure and I don't really know what's going to happen, but I'm so grateful for my time here. And I just wanted to say thank you and goodbye. Like that was the gist of the email. The director of the company based in Los Angeles at Disney called the president of the division in New York, who called my boss and basically said, who does she think she is? She sent an email like the anchors and the general managers are getting this. And so my boss came in my office and she said, what did you do? And I said, I don't know. What did I do? And she brought it up, and apparently that was the attitude. It caused this huge SHIT storm in the company. Everybody was talking about it. And I just looked at my boss and I said, thank you, with a big smile on my face. And she said, for what? And I said, for validating my decision to leave. Thank you. You know, and what upset me so much about it, but I got over it. But what upset me about it is it were all women. They were all women. And I thought, not anything against men or anything, but, you know, shame on you. Shame on you. So anyway, I just, it was the best decision. So when you're feeling that way, like they're not begging me to stay and there's all that, you're so lucky you're leaving it all behind. There's so much empowerment and satisfaction in figuring out your own path. And it is scary at times, and yet it's the most exhilarating thing in the world. Because I've created a corporate culture where it's all based on love and it's all based on collaboration. It makes me cry. And it's all supportive, and it's just so beautiful. So you get to continue to keep designing your life, which is so great. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So good luck as you're figuring all this out. It's so great. So, all right, let's get to the two of you. So how did you two meet?
Well, it's an interesting story. So it was on TikTok. That's basically how like I said, I had my twin daughters, and I had been on. I'd never really explored it at all. And one of my daughters had some pretty funny stuff. So I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. So I wanted to, watch her and stuff and see what was going on, and really just flipping through. And one day she popped up. And I was a little intrigued, and she had a Syracuse sweatshirt on, right? So we're in central New York, and I'm like, geez, maybe she's from around here. I don't know. She could be anywhere in the world with a Syracuse shirt on, right? So just kind of, got intrigued by her, and she kept popping up. I would see more videos and more videos. About the same time you were talking about that transition phase, you started to make that transition. And I too was in a space where I needed to and wanted to make a transition, right? I needed to get my life right. I needed to move in the right direction. And so I had been studying and been looking at all this stuff about learning about inner love and inner peace, and really trying to get in touch with that. About the same time she starts to pop in, and I just got so intrigued by her story and by watching her and her storytelling and just the way she presents herself. And she's pretty easy on the eyes too. She's
somebody.
Yeah. So that's and then maybe a little bit of stalking taking place, looking to see if I could find her, and come to find out we have a lot of mutual friends. And so then just kind of dropped into her DMs a little bit, as she says, and we kind of started the conversation from there. And over a period of months, it kind of grew a little bit, and I would jump in and we would touch base and talk a little bit. And finally there was one time when she kind of called me out, and she's like, and not so many words, if you're going to ask me out, ask me out. And it wasn't.
I remember that.
It was a video, a viral video where I didn't say your name, but I was like, you're going to come into my DMs. Why? Yeah.
And I'm like, is she talking to me? Because I certainly check all the boxes she's talking about. And that, lo and behold, within that week, I said, I know, okay, it's time for me to step up. She's been laying out this map for me about what she wants and everything. Took me so far out of my comfort zone. So basically, I think in our message, you said, once we finally figured it out, you said, okay, 2:30, and I'll let you figure out the rest. And I was like, I got to do my work. And so I did my work, and we went on that first date as a motorcycle ride and dinner, and the rest is history at this point.
So I think you were watching me and commenting for probably 6 months.
Yeah.
And that's when we realized we had friends in common. I used to sing in bands. He's a musician. We live an hour from each other.
Yeah.
And there's 8.5 years between us age-wise, so we wouldn't have been in the same class. But every time he would come in, there was something different about his message than some other creep. And he knew, and he'll even tell you he was worried that he would come across that way. But there's probably 3 or 4 videos before we finally connected and he took me out on a date where I'm talking directly to him without saying his name. Like, step up, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he took me out on a date.
Yeah, so that's kind of where it all started, and we've been working ever since. Yeah, it's been great.
You certainly have. And team, show the picture of their podcast. You two just recently launched a podcast. I love it. And what's the name of the podcast again?
Conversations in Bed.
Conversations in Bed. That's right. So what I love about watching the two of you, and you see me, I go into your comments and I comment on your videos whenever I can. And, I just love everything that you put, like everything I said with the intention statement, you put all that out there. You are open. You are brave. You are honest. You are vulnerable. And what I love about your ability to share so openly what's happening in your relationship. And I know a lot of people love it. And of course the haters, whatever, that it is this unfolding that's happening, and each experience can activate or reactivate different emotions. And you're definitely in the space of gratitude and appreciation and open and vulnerable. But I love your communication with each other and the mutual respect you have for each other, that it's always, at least everything I've seen, and I'm sure it is, but with kindness and compassion,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That comes from, I think, part of what he was following me and watching was me exploring my feminine energy.
Yes.
And getting out of the wounded masculine that I was in. That intrigued him enough to study it on his part. Mm-hmm. So when he says, I laid out a roadmap, it wasn't just for Ken Case because I didn't know he existed.
Right.
It was just what I was going to choose moving forward in any relationship, one where I wasn't angry and trying to control, where I could be with a masculine man who loved me exactly as I am, chose to lead so I didn't have to do it exhaustively. So I began to study it, and behind closed doors, because we didn't know each other, he began to study it. And when we actually came together, even to this minute, it's something that's always part of a conversation or whatever's happening. That's why we did the podcast. We call it Conversations in Bed because we wake up at 5 o'clock every morning. And we're just like thoughts, ideas. We've done everything wrong. We've had partners. We've been married. We've done all the things. We've come to a point in our 50s and 60s where there's no room for an argument, for anger, for any of it. It just doesn't fit. And I want this for everybody, but 30, 40 years earlier.
Yes.
We have so much that we have to learn. So I think we have to go through these missteps, but he is a natural when it comes to, like, I come from TV. I put this guy next to me and he's a natural at it. And he studies and learns your own spiritual path. Mm. So when we do the conversation, it's in real time. Our relationship, as we study the masculine, feminine, and go forward in this polarity, in this polarity-based relationship, it's unfolding in real time. And we're able to share that this is what happens. And I know it's hard for people to believe, but we don't fight. We don't want to fight. There's been moments of tension. We're human.
Of course.
But the views and the desire to be right and the ego, it's not there.
It's not there. It's not there. That's so beautiful. And I hope people are learning from you guys, who are the two of you, through your podcast and through just your everyday videos and your videos. By the way, Joleen has 168 1,000 followers on TikTok. I mean, congratulations, girl. That's amazing. You have so many loyal fans and followers.
I'm grateful.
Yeah, yeah. And so you also made your dream come true of going to Portugal. I remember that you set the intention for that. So talk about that experience.
I will tell you quickly, it's unfolded. I stated there were 4 countries I wanted to visit. This was before Ken came into my life. And I still think about it because I do want to travel, so it's not off the table. Portugal, Costa Rica, Mexico, and Thailand were on that list. Yep. So I put the word out there. There were women that were interested. I talked to so many women, met with 3 of them when we all met in Portugal. And I was even gifted the Airbnb because I kept sharing this story on TikTok, how I wanted to do this and find my future retirement country. I did it. I made great friends doing it. I met him right before I left for Portugal. I'm leaving for Costa Rica in 2 weeks, country number 2. That trip was gifted to me. And I had enough points on my card. There was just a little bit of cash we had to pay to make up for it. I have the money in the bank, so I have spending cash, and I'm going to Costa Rica. And then I think 4 months after that, we're going to Mexico because that's where his daughter's getting married.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's like, of these 4 countries, bam, 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 there's 3. So now I'm waiting for something to pop up.
Something's happening in Thailand.
Yeah. But when you talk about the intentions, the video you talk about where I was sitting in what used to be my office saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I left in March of 2024. So this year I left. I put 2 weeks in and nobody batted an eye. And it still stings, but I know and trust that there's something greater. And I can see pieces of it. The podcast is one of them. You asking me to be on the show is one of them, because it's just a few more voices that will hear and see that you choose. And you know this is why you created your show. You choose your life. You choose how to build it and put it together. We're so conditioned to the culture that tells us how it's supposed to be that we get trapped in that. I've been trapped in it. And I'm not doing it anymore. I'm very fortunate because there are resources so that I am able to do this. And there's work that I can still do to pull in bits of cash. It's all hodgepodge right now, but it's working. It's scary, but it's working. And I'm calmer than I would be in the past. I'm not forcing any outcomes. I've let go. Letting go doesn't mean I sit on my couch doing nothing. Right. It's letting go of the outcome or the expectation and trusting. And it feels better. I still have work to do around it, but it feels better.
Yeah. Yeah. It actually is supposed to be like that. You are, and for everybody watching, listening, every time you put your intention out there and you wanted to go, I remember your description of when you did that. What I love so much, why I shared it, is because there was all this flow. It was just coming out of you. I want to eat. I want to drink coffee and the thing. I want to do this. I think you said something. I don't want to say it, but I want to have sex with someone who doesn't speak English.
Portuguese guy. He's not Portuguese, but he's great.
Right. But I mean, but what it was is it's setting the intention and feeling the emotion of what that would feel like. Not worrying about the how. Just being able to trust and surrender. And I mean, I'm a huge manifester too. And the only time I'm quote unquote struggling is when I'm in my head, pushing the boulder up the rock, up the hill, pushing it. And when I stop and go, I don't even know why I'm doing this, because all of a sudden things are handled. So my mantra is, everything's handled today. Why is it? Everything's just handled today. It's just handled. So, but the key for everybody is the clarity. You don't know quite where you're going, but you know how you want to feel.
Yeah.
You know that you want it to feel good. You want it to be interesting and exciting. And I mean, I'm not going to predict your future, but I know that this alignment between the two of you and this creating this show, that you two have a future in front of you of helping couples and building relationships and helping people find their partners. Like I see it 100% that here's what I'll say. And I said this at the beginning. If you would have told me in May of 2015, when I walked out the door for the last time, now I had the summer of the roller coaster. The summer of 2015 was the worst and best summer of my life. My kids graduating, instantly becoming an empty nester, because I had 2 kids. So I know you had a daughter. So you know what that feels like when your kids go off to school. Life is never the same. But now I had no job anymore. My kids were gone. I was selling the house that they grew up in. I sold all of my belongings. I was going to a city that I really didn't know anyone. All my family was in LA, but San Diego was calling me. And I knew, I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I had to go. I knew I had to move forward. And I had the ups and the downs, and I had my QVC appearance that summer, and I had my house sale fall through twice, and I had all the good and I had all the bad. And so looking back, your every ascension for me, this isn't for everybody, but for me, every ascension came with a breakdown. And up again, and another breakdown, and another breakdown. And it was all kinds of different things. And what happens is you embrace the breakdowns. You do. When something falls apart, I always go, the breakthrough's coming. It's going to be even bigger and better. I'm going to ride through this. It's going to be amazing. I don't know when, but I know that I'll be able to talk about this and I'll help other people because of this. And the confidence starts to build and the opportunities start to come, and it's feeling, loving yourself unconditionally as you are right now. You're embracing everything that you're feeling along the way. Yeah. Bravo.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know you're getting ready to travel, but for the two of you together, without prying into your relationship, where do you see this going in terms of with the podcast and what you'd like to do?
Yeah, I think we've talked about this from the beginning when we started doing the podcast and having those ideas in the morning when we had our conversations in bed. It was always, we got to spread this word. We got to be able to tell people about this, and everybody should have this, and it's available to everybody. We think it's just getting that word out. So that's really how it's, and I think that's where we want to go with it. We really want to just help do it for the greater good, and really make it, put it out there, and we're doing it in real time. And vulnerability, you hit it on the head when we've agreed to
put it all
out there. Live out loud.
Live out loud. Yeah. The podcast is the beginning. But from the beginning, he always said to me, and the reason he would follow me is he said, you're so good at what you say and how you do it and how you package it and you inspire people. And I love that. And in one of my past lives, because I left my news job like 12 years ago and I became a speaker and a coach, I knew I could move a room that was ready to hear what I had to say. But I finally looked at him one day and I said, I don't know how to tell you this, Kevin, but you're part of this. This isn't just me. It's not just me, because he would say, I picture you on a stage. You're doing kind of like a TED Talk, and I'm the behind the scenes guy. And the more we would talk about it, I was like, I knew he was an integral part, whether it was in front of the camera, behind the camera. So we talk all the time about the building of it. Yeah. And he's on the edge of retiring, and I'm beginning to build. The website's up. I'm working on more content. The podcast is launched. So when I say I know where it's going, yeah, But as far as how the blocks are stacked and the money-making aspect, those bigger pieces of money-making aspects aren't quite in place. But we talk about retreats.
Mm-hmm.
We are going next week. Is it next week? Part of Conversations in Bed is we want to do on location in other beds.
Yep.
And when we have guests, we have a threesome. And so they can crawl into bed with us. Well, we managed to book a retreat center in the Adirondack Mountains in northern New York, because we're in New York. I know. It's amazing. That's the first step. And I think that's a perfect place. It's a retreat center to do a retreat. So we talk about that. And it's on the calendar, but we don't have a date set kind of thing. It's building, him moving through the retirement piece, and we just keep talking, and it gets clearer and clearer.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's definitely in your future. I mean, it's definitely your destiny. I see the whole thing. I literally can see it. So you're going to inspire and help so many people, men and women. I think that's your role, Ken, is, you know, quite extraordinary, being so brave to put yourself out as a vulnerable man. You're showing men how to do it, you know, how to really love a woman and appreciate her the way she deserves to be appreciated, and acknowledging her, balancing her masculine and feminine, because I love the femininity in a man. I love a man that will cry and be vulnerable and express that part of him, and not. I think there's both of it in all of us, and having that nice balance, but granting permission. Because I think about my son, and if he knew I was saying this, he'd probably kill me. So, but my son is soft in a lot of ways. He's got a huge heart. He's got such a big heart. And yet he grew up in a lot of sports, a lot of athletics, and very tough. Like, he wouldn't show his emotions. And part of that is the development of, you know, male, female, and not being able to have the ability to articulate the emotions, not being able to know what the words were, what the feeling was. But I think a lot of men grow up like that. And then when you hit your 50s, 60s, a lot of them really start expressing emotion. I want to call them crybabies, but they cry at a lot of things, which is good, because all that trapped trauma, all that emotion's been bottled up in them for so long. And so to be, you know, connected to your softer side and embrace her in her softer side is so beautiful. So, yeah.
Yeah. And she makes it so easy to do that. I told her that from day one. She makes it easy to be involved. That was actually one of the responses I had to one of your videos. It was about, there was some vulnerability in it. And I said, what would you think if a man said that, you know? And she answered it in a way that was just, I wouldn't care. And I'm like, really? Because that's kind of what we're looking for, you know, and to be able to be okay with expressing that kind of stuff. So
there's a lot of wounding in both when you're, you know, and we respond to that pain. And if he says or does something that may reverb a past life and vice versa, we've reacted to that. And he'll say to me, it's Ken. It's Ken. And I said that to him recently. It's me. It's Joleen. And it's scary, because an action he may do is super reminiscent of something that didn't work out in the past and caused all these problems. And I was forced into my wounded masculine, all of that. And it's that fear that all of a sudden you're going to end up where you were. Yeah. We're learning how to build trust. And people have said, you're so lucky. And I always want to challenge that statement, because if I hadn't done the work and he hadn't done the work, and this is before we knew each other, and the work is the decision to be the best version of ourselves, to learn to be non-reactive, to learn to be as loving as possible, to learn to exist in what can be a really shitty world sometimes.
Yeah.
The best way you know how. Then when you find someone who's in that same space, it really is magical. And a lot of people say, well, my husband or partner isn't there. How do I get them there? You don't. When you make the shift for you, everything in your outer world changes, including the partner. They either go with you or they don't. And that's the part where people stop. Because, well, if he's not going to change, I'm not going to do the work myself. And so they just exist in that space with them. We're not here to convince people to break up marriages or do any of that. We're just here to show them that there's a better version of themselves waiting to emerge. And if they let that version emerge, they may see the best version in their partner emerge as well.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. It is an inside job, and you are a reflection of that comes back to you. And it's so sad that people stay because out of fear of being alone, out of all the fears that come up, so many people stay. Yeah. Well, you think there's a book in your future?
It's funny you say that. I wrote one a long time ago. And then when I was in business for myself, I wrote some ebooks. But I'm going to say this word wrong. I had a reading recently where you read the records, your
Akashic.
Thank you. Akashic. And she said the same thing. She's like, are you a writer? And I am. I've written screenplays. I've tried to break into that field. I have so many scripts. So I thought, oh my God, is she talking about one of my scripts? But she kept pushing back toward book. And I had been thinking about picking up the pen again, but I didn't have a direction. So I think the answer is yes. There's no clarity on that. I think all of this, it gets me right here thinking about it. All of this is on the horizon, and all of this is accessible to anybody. And what I mean is, you don't have to be where you are. Yeah. You can go where you want to go. The problem is we expect instant gratification and we want it right away. Because we have today, we have to be willing to, I lose my patience sometimes. I want it now. Why isn't it happening now? I'm pacing back and forth. I'm doing this job over here and this job over here to make money, and it's not fitting what I want. But I have the vision. Mm-hmm. And I know it will happen because I've seen it happen every time. It happened with him. I manifested him. It's on paper. Wow. We did a podcast on it. I wrote down everything I wanted. Everything I wanted. And he nailed everything except the tall. But it doesn't matter because his stature, his presence is so big. So but I just looked at that because I started journaling again this morning. Mm-hmm. I looked at it and I flipped back on the perfect partner, and it's everything, and it blows my mind. And when you become grateful for anyone in your life, not just a romantic partner, anyone, it's an energy that is reciprocated. And that's the message we're trying to get across. It's not BS of saying things and pretending. It's the energy. Because when he had a vulnerable moment last weekend, and I fell in love with him, like more than I was. And I'm still in it because it's like, I can't explain it. So my point is, in summary, this is accessible to anyone. It truly, truly is.
It is. Well, you are going to teach and you are going to do a book. I totally see your future too. I'm really highly intuitive. So that's another reason why I wanted to have you on the show, because I know the impact that you two are going to make on the world just by being yourselves, and that people will continue to learn from you and follow you and be in your world and want to do that. And I'm sure going to keep following you and watching you as well. And anything we could do here, either at the show or, my network now, I don't know if you know this, but I just launched a television network, small little thing, that is in the early stages. We have 3 or 4 of the shows have launched. We have 12 hosts where our goal is to be at 50 hosts by the end of the year and 100 by next year. And it's all in the personal development and transformation space. to help and support people who really need it. Like the fact that you're brave enough to put yourself out there, and this will turn into a absolute fortune financially for you. You don't have to worry about it. The money will come when you're in service. Oh my God, the universe just, it's incredible.
Well, Diane, the podcast is video on YouTube.
Oh,
and then
is.
I record an audio version. So it's a show. And that's was the whole purpose is I'm a TV producer.
Yes.
So the podcast, it's produced as a 30 to 40 minute show. And then I export the audio files and they go on Spotify, Amazon, and Apple. But that was the whole concept, was to get people visually intrigued as well, which is why we want to go to different bedrooms and get different guests and just make it fun and upbeat and transformational.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to talk about getting you on the network. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. I want to ask you guys just two more questions and then, some final tips and takeaways. But how do you live? Joleen, you go first. How do you live the I Have Today way, which is intentionally in the present moment? And start it with, I have today too.
I have today to make choices that feel good to me so I can live the life I've always dreamed while changing the lives of others.
Beautiful. That was yummy. That was good. All right, Ken, you start it with, I have today too.
Yeah. I have today to really live and love the best way that I know how, and to just continue getting better.
Mm-hmm. So beautiful. So beautiful. You know what I want to say about your list, that you got everything on the list, and clearly your travels, you're manifesting, except for the height. I had a woman named Arlene Washburn on my show, and she is a matchmaker coach. So she's the matchmaking coach for all the matchmakers in the globally. I mean, she's got thousands of matchmakers in her network. And so she's seen so many profiles. And do you know that 94% of men are under 6 feet?
Really?
94%. So when they have the checkbox, 6 feet or taller, when people do that, they're wiping out 94% of the men. There's only 6% in that. So
I lost the best thing ever. And someone said to me too, you have to let that go. You could be missing the most perfect person. And I've thought about that looking at you because, oh, he's so yummy. What a fool.
Right. So, hey, ladies out there, remember that you're cutting out 94% of potential, amazing Kens out there, right? So anyway, all right. And now the last question, you answer this separately too, or together, however you guys feel about this, is what do you wish more people knew? You could say separately. Oh, look at the two of you. Gonna make me cry. You're so beautiful.
Well, I wish people knew just how men, especially because I can speak to them, just how special it is when you do increase your vulnerability and you do get your partner involved in that vulnerability. It is so magical in the whole. Again, we've been kind of going the masculine feminine route, and so once you start to learn that, and once you start to go down that road for the healed part of it, but once you step into that masculine and you get to go into your feminine, it's just magic to see the little gleam in her eye when I lead or when I do something or whatever. I would love for people to realize that it's a real thing. It's a real thing.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. So ladies, tap into that. I think I believe that men really love a feminine woman. Not 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 a weak woman, but a woman who's in touch with her femininity, right?
Yep.
Joleen, you have anything you want to add to what you wish more people knew?
Yeah, he inspired me to pick up the other side of that. I wish more people knew that being in your feminine state is actually more powerful than not. And it's often mistaken as being weak. And when a woman is in her feminine power, that energy allows the man to lead in a way that will make them feel so beautiful, so soft, so sensual, and so free. And I've never enjoyed myself more. I've never been happier. So I wish more people knew that the masculine feminine isn't controlling and submissive. That's a fallacy. It's simply not true.
That is so beautiful. Well said, both of you. All right. Well, so I guess everybody can find out about the podcast, and the podcast is called Conversations in Bed. It's on, you said, YouTube, and it's also the audio is available on the podcast platforms. Yes.
Yep. They can go right to Take Your Voice Back. That's my website. They'll see the YouTube version, but they could also visit, they can go to Spotify. They could go to Amazon Music, and they can go to Apple Music and download it. It's a riot. It's edutainment. They're going to learn and they're going to laugh with us.
Love it. That's right up our alley here. All right. So takeyourvoiceback.com. We'll have this in the show notes as well. You too. I love you both. I love watching this journey. Thank you for coming and inspiring our audience. We'll definitely stay in touch because I really want to help you spread this beautiful work, mission, your love, and the impact that you're having on the world in a much deeper way. The world needs more of this, believe me. So
thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. All right. Sending you love. Take care. Bye. So good. That was so yummy. Amazing. See, if the power of intention, there's so many great takeaways, and I'm going to share them with you in our mantra meditation in just a minute so that you can leave here feeling inspired, empowered. I mean, your life can change as quickly as today. It's your intention behind that and getting the clarity about what you want, how you want to live, how you want to feel. It's totally up to you. You're the one in the power. All right. Before we do that, I mentioned the network, the I Have Today TV network, and I've been helping many people launch their TV shows through our academy. We've got an academy, and then also we have our podcast. If that's something that you want to do, make sure that you reach out to the team and and we will give you a breakthrough session to learn more about creating your own platform, your TV show, and the way you want to make impact on the world. So you can go to tvstarhost.com/apply, tvstarhost.com/apply, and book your breakthrough session with either someone on my team or myself and find out how to bring your show, your TV show, to the world. Okay. All right. And let's wrap this up with a beautiful mantra meditation that is just dripping in delicious love, because the two of them were amazing. I feel so inspired and empowered. Okay. So put your feet flat on the floor. If you're driving, just listen. Obviously, you can't close your eyes, and put your hands flat on your lap. And I want you to close your eyes. We're going to do 2 series of breaths. We're going to breathe in for the count of 4 and through our nose, pull that all the way down to your root chakra. We're going to count to 8, and we're going to send energy to each one of the 8 chakras, your root chakra, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, crown, and soul star. That's above your head about a foot. And then we're going to breathe out for the count of 8 like you're blowing out birthday candles. Get all that toxic energy out of your body. We'll do that 2 times, and then just listen to the words. So here we go. You ready? Breathe in for 4. Hold it and send the energy to each one of your chakras. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe out. Let's do it again. Breathe in for 4 through your nose. Send the energy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And blow it out for 8. I have today to love my life. Something really good is going to happen to me today. I can feel it. Miracles big and small. I notice them all. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. I have today to be open, brave, honest, and vulnerable. I have today to make my dreams come true. I'm not going to stay stuck in a life that doesn't make me happy anymore. If I'm not happy with it, I'm going to be done with it. I'm going to be brave and vulnerable and make the moves that I want to make to move me in the direction towards my dreams. And if I don't know what they are, I'm going to take the time to get intentional and clear about what they are. I'm going to figure out exactly what I want and why I want it. I'm going to make the lists. And then I am going to live in my beautiful feminine energy. I'm going to be tender and trustworthy. I'm going to let go of the need to control the outcomes because I realize the universe knows way better than I do what I want and why I want it and the fastest path to get it. I do get every single thing I want because I set the intention for that. It is my expectation. There's nothing that I need to worry about. Everything happens in the divine right timing. And when I am whole and loving myself completely, allowing myself to be who I am, process emotions as they come up, feel whatever I'm feeling the moment I feel it. Be kind to myself, be kind to others. The more loving I am to myself, the more love I invite into my life. And feeling so good in that, and knowing that each and every day of this journey is my opportunity to be present, to love myself, to love my life, to love others, and honor this beautiful journey with compassion and love. There's just no room for arguing anymore. And so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much to Joleen and Ken for being here today. What a journey, what a story, what an inspirational episode filled with love and passion and magic and sending them so much love. I know we'll see them again soon. And to all of you, if this is your first time here, thank you so much for being here. Make sure you're following me, Diane Forster Official, and I Have Today with Diane Forster. We'll see you next time. Take care.